Well, morning, whanau. My goodness, what a good roundup we've got this morning. A couple of thousand people already tuning in. Hey, tēnā koutou katoa, no mai, haere mai. Hope you're all very well. Ko Matt Tukaki aho, of course, making sure that you're all well on a Monday morning. Of course, this is Mahi Mondays. We've been doing this during lockdown for the last 18 months. And it's all very much about catching up with some pretty well-known, formidable characters in Te Ao Māori. People who both inspire us but also challenge us at the same time. And of course, this morning we have the very venerable Lady Tureiti Moxon, who is very well known to all of you whanau across the country. And like I say, a really inspiring leader. We're going to be talking about health, COVID-19, building back better, and what's going on out there in the community. With Tureiti coming up just shortly, but it is of course Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori week. So remember, if you don't have to be a fluent speaker to pepper your phrases and your conversations throughout the week. In fact, every day of the year with just a little bit of Māori. Of course, we've replaced Work Monday with Mahi Monday. Mahi Monday just sounds so much better than Work Monday. Work Monday is boring. Hey, another word that I always use, I love using this word, is putia. Whenever you're talking about money, just translate it into putia. Although some who said to me this morning, oh, what about pingers? No, pingers is not a Māori word. So use your word putia. But remember, each one of us can speak a little bit of Te Reo Māori every single day. You don't have to be fluent. And for all of those late come speakers who are of my age, which is more rangatahi adjacent than kaumātua, you too can also make sure that you learn Te Reo Māori. So don't give up just because you're a little bit grey in the hair. And by the way, yes, I saw one of those comments about my grey hair. No whanau, I silver my hair, I colour my hair silver, just so you fellas think I'm a little bit wiser. Hey, of course, tēnā koe te manuhere, Tureiti Moxon, how are you doing?
Tēnā pai ahau, ka nui te mihi atu ki a koe Matt, me koutou mai, whakarongo mai, titiro mai ki tēnei wahanga, ka nui te mihi.
Kia ora, good to be with you. Good to be, hey, really pleased that you're joining us this morning because it's a big day. Cabinet meeting later on this afternoon, of course. Auckland is in alert level 4. The rest of the country is in alert level 2, which suspiciously for a lot of people just looks like level 3 with KFC. I hate to use Judith Collins' words, my goodness. Hey, but let's just have a look at these cases. I mean, where there's a big push on vaccination. You won one of the most, and I've seen your base of operations there in Kirikiriroa, an amazing health and community services centre. The numbers are 20 new cases in Tāmaki, of course, 263,921 of our whanau have had their first dose, 127,000 fully dosed up. That's 46% of people fully vaccinated. From somebody on the ground, Lady Moxon, what are you seeing in your local community? In fact, not just the community, but you're tapped into the nation.
We're seeing lots and lots of people coming. We've had a lot of young parents with their young rangatahi coming. And what we've also noticed, which is interesting enough, is that a lot of our rangatahi are quite frightened of having vaccinations. They haven't had them since they were babies. And so when they come, what they're looking for is, a lot of reassurance that, it's going to be all right. We've had some who have passed out or almost passed out, and it's so frightening for some others. But having said that, there's lots and lots of people who are coming in as whanau groups, and I think that that's really the key here, that everybody is coming in and are the champions for this vaccination within their whanau, within their realms.
Well, that's right. I mean, and it's also incumbent of those of us who have platforms like this. I mean, I've had my double jab hasn't warranted me getting an exemption to get out of level 4 any earlier. But for me, it was pretty painless. And yes, I am one of those Māori fellas who, there are two things I hate doing, Lady Moxon. Number one, going to the dentist. I hate that. It's just the sound of those machines, but the other one is the needle. And yet, it's for me, it was just quick in and it was done. And we were out within, 20 minutes. You've got to wait 15 minutes, of course, just in case there has been an adverse reaction. But talking about our young people, we are on a race to get as many people vaccinated as possible. For you, what does that look like? What more do we need to do? What more does the government need to do?
Well, from our perspective, I think that there needs to be a lot more comms around what it can, the whole experience of it, because there are a lot of people who have put out false information, and lots of people have grasped that false information and are afraid that if they get the vaccination, they'll get chipped. I heard a story the other day that somebody took one of those metal detectors to check to see whether or not they were chipped. I mean, it's just crazy. How many people need to die in the world or in our country for people to realize that this is a deadly disease. This is a deadly virus, and if we don't get on top of it and we don't get our whanau in it, it could wipe us out.
Well, and that's exactly one of the experience. Obviously, history teaches us from the 1918, 1919 Spanish flu epidemic. I mean, largely Māori were impacted much more so than anybody else was ever impacted. But it is, you're absolutely right, and we see more variants popping up. We're dealing with the Delta variant, which, has come out of left field. But then we've got the Lambda variant coming in from Latin America. We've got this discussion at the moment about the Mu variant, spelled MU whanau. So irrespective of what people might be spreading online, which quite frankly, don't believe YouTube videos if they're being made in Russia whanau. They're not real news stories. So it is overcoming that misinformation out there, right?
It is. And I think that we have to do a lot more within our own whanau, because really where does the mana lie? It lies within the whanau, right? Where does the Māori mana motuhake lie? Within the whanau. So if we support each other and support our communities and whatnot, let's bring it together. And that, to me, is much more powerful than anything that a government can do and anything that we can do as providers. We're here to support. And, hey, you know what? We've had lots and lots of positive comments coming back saying that it's been the best experience that a lot of people have ever had. So, the thing is, you've got this gift, if you like, in the midst of ourselves, and with all these different providers that we've got throughout the Waikato region, up there in Tamaki Makaurau, throughout the Aotearoa, use them and use us to the betterment of our needs.
So that raises the other question too. I mean, when we have a look at going into COVID-19, Māori organisations, Hauora health providers, they were already fighting it in terms of funding, right? We all know the struggle of inequity when it comes to not only the workforce, but also resources, investment into infrastructure. And in the true spirit of manaakitanga, Māori have once again, from the very beginning of the outbreak, really stepped up to the mark, whether it be delivering kai parcels, whether it be picking up kaumatua to do X, Y, and Z, vaccinations, GP checks, keeping up with regular medical appointments. But we already knew about the inequity. Have we done enough to ensure that our organisations are actually funded to do the job that we not only are asking them to do, but we actually now expect them to do?
Yes, and the interesting thing about that, Matt, is that lots of people think we've got millions and millions and millions of dollars. But when you break it all up and, everybody gets a teeny weeny little bit, and you'd make the most of what we can do. Most of the money that we've ever got, we have used put back into our communities in large. Because why? Because the needs, as you've already stated, are so great. Mm. People are afraid to come out. People have fears. And when they see somebody, like we've continued to give free medications and we've continued to give, to deliver those medications so people can actually stay safe. But at the same time, they get somebody who knocks on the door, who comes out, they have a little korero, and they don't feel alone. And I think that's one of our biggest diseases in our communities, is being on your own and being left there, basically sitting in fear. So I think that we can do a huge amount in terms of getting rid of all these stories that are wrong, these stories that are false news, and do a lot more about creating stronger whakapapa links, creating stronger whanaungatanga links, and creating stronger manaakitanga links. That's, to me, is the key going forward.
Hey, absolutely. Hey, whanau, your questions are coming in. We've got quite a few, so 17 to go through in the next few minutes. Quick fire question round, whanau, so keep that in mind. So if you've got a question, make sure that you slip it into the comments field. Make sure you also share this video. Great comments coming from Lady Moxon. Hey, just a question from Karen McQuinlan. Actually, this pretty much resonates some of the other comments. We need to look at comms to kids in care and support that, and how these rangatahi are getting information and support how they need to get vaccinated. But it's not just the rangatahi at that end of the spectrum, is it? You've raised a really important point about the isolation of many of our older people as well. Not knowing, I mean, they don't have mobile devices necessarily or connected to the internet. They normally still get their news maybe at 6 o'clock if we're lucky, and they are in many ways disconnected. What more can we do in terms of those of lowering that social isolation? I mean, because you guys, again, while you're doing your jobs in terms of the primary health aspects of COVID-19 and the vaccinations and testing and tamia, what more can we be doing?
Well, I think, again, I come right back to where the mana lies. The mana lies within whanau. And you know, the thing is, I noticed the minister on TV yesterday, and he's saying things like, well, you know, it's our fault that we're not getting vaccinated. So pretty much, if that is our fault that we're not being vaccinated and whatnot, so what can we do to hickey those numbers, to protect our whanau, to protect ourselves going forward? And so it's important, absolutely, in terms of those who are fearful and whatnot, that we're reaching out, that we're talking to them, that if it's our neighbour and they you haven't seen them for a while, give them a buzz, you know, check on them to see if they need awhi. And that's the key, because what we are wanting to do more than anything now is to create a community, create that whanaungatanga, so we keep each other safe.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. The mana does lie in whanau. Now, with the limited time that we've got left, I mean, because, you know, the one thing I recognise about you is you've constantly got ideas on the go. In fact, I reckon you in another life, you'd probably be one of these country's most formidable entrepreneurs, the way you think, a bit of a disruptor, innovator. So let's turn our attention to the future. So we know that COVID-19 is here. We know that we're going through this process of vaccinations. We've got lockdowns and all this other sort of stuff in between. But at some point, at whatever and however it happens, we're going to have to come out of this. So for you, for Māori, as one of the preeminent leaders in Te Ao Māori, what would your views be on how we need to build back after this? I mean, what more do we need to do? And it's not just from my perspective hitting the big green reset button. I mean, we don't want to go back to where we've come from. So from your perspective, what are your big ideas?
Well, I believe in by Māori, for Māori. I believe that the one way to go is us doing it for ourselves, looking at what our needs are and creating the answers and the solutions of what to do going forward. And one of those ideas that we have, as you say, and we have plenty, is a diagnostic centre where we actually X-ray or we look at the 5 biggest killers of Māori, which is heart disease, lung disease, breast cancer, cervical cancer, and the other one is bowel cancer. So if we look at that and say, hey, what's the answer here? The answer is we get in the driver's seat, we do it ourselves. And what we do is we create an environment, if you like, where Māori feel comfortable coming, where it's not so expensive that it keeps everybody out and there's a barrier, that we lift those areas that have been basically our business ideas and business areas, and lift them so that it becomes accessible for everyone. And that's the key. And not only that, we don't want to go backwards, do we? We want to go forward. What we want is the best we can be for ourselves and to do the best we can do for ourselves. That is the key to the future as far as I can see.
There you go, whanau. Now, that's a lot of positivity coming through on a Monday morning. And Lady Moxon is absolutely right. You know what? In order to shape our own destiny, you essentially have to be driving the bus. There's no point in being a passenger in somebody else's bus. You've got to grab hold of those car keys, jump in that bus, hit the pedal to the metal and keep going forward. And for all of those whanau, just one thing too, as a poster boy for blood pressure medication, whanau, make sure you go to your local GP and get your blood pressure checked. That's coming through to all you Māori males like me who probably need a little bit more walking and a little bit less talking. Hey, Lady Moxon, it's always a pleasure. You're an absolute inspiration. Really appreciate taking the time out of your busy Monday morning. Thank you very much for joining me.
Kia ora, Bat. All the best.
All the best to you. Ka kite.
Ka kite.